Hello, hunters and huntresses. Brian here again. Nelson Creek Outdoors, Lucky 7 cents, and buckets. Pardon me, bucket bulk cents. This video is kind of driven by some of the other videos, and again, some of the bubble marketing and stuff that you see out there, and really causes a problem because it pushes profit over functional items for the hunter, and I think this is a really strong case of that. Um, Talk about expertise and stuff, and people don't want to listen to other people's expertise. Everyone now thinks they're the expert. You know, you drive a bus, you're a chemistry expert. You drive a bus, you're an arrowhead expert. You drive a bus, you're a crossbow expert. You drive a bus, you're an expert in just about everything, right? See, it allows the public marketing to run wild, and people don't know what they're getting. So I had a talk with the leader in the industry in Broadhead design and manufacturing, Matt Fudere. Because as you know, I set up a new crossbow. I went from over the years here. I shot a compound for many, many years. Just a compound bow. Didn't get really involved in my setups. Kind of went with what they recommended for the manufacturer, whether it was right or not. And most times it's not, because it's a marketing effort more than it is a science lesson. So I shot 100 grain rage tips for a while, and I killed deer with them. And I'll be honest with you, I never lost a deer with a rage tip. Did they do exactly what I think they should do? I'm gonna say no, because they pretty much every time you shot a deer with one, I never had one survive a shot on a deer. I never shot one twice. Usually they just blow the heck apart, and depending on when they blow apart, entering the deer, limits their effectiveness. If in the first you hit the shoulder a little bit or something, and the blades blow off the thing, all you got is the rest of the tip with no blades traveling through the deer in a tiny little hole the rest of the way, and you're not going to get a good blood trail. And now I don't shoot deer that far, and I didn't have any trouble with that, and it worked, and I shot deer. But then I went to crossbow, and then the range I was using weren't made for a crossbow. They actually would open up even at the 330 feet per second crossbow speeds. They would not stay shut. They were the collared type, and they weren't the right type for that and all that stuff. So I switched to a Schwecker with the little fiberglass ring band you put around them, keep shot, and it worked fine too. But I didn't have the same problem every deer I ever shot with it. Now I did lose 2 deer with a Schwecker with the crossbow pretty quick. Adjustment, whatever it was, getting used to shooting that close. But I think part of it again was the fact that an arrow was going so fast, and the arrowhead just blew apart really close on, and it wasn't very effective. It wasn't devastating. Now I shot other deer with them and killed them, but I'm not blaming the broadhead. Don't get me wrong on that either. I should be able to shoot a deer and kill it. That's on me. But to help me out a little bit, if I make them, these weren't even bad shots. Again, to be the most effective harvester of game you can be, once you pull that trigger, let that arrow fly, or let that bolt fly, you do want the animal to do as much devastation to it as you possibly can. And that sounds horrible, but you want to kill it as quick as possible with the least amount of suffering and get it on the table. So I talked to Matt about ballistics and cutting surfaces and all that stuff. And here's what I say: listen to the experts when they present themselves. That man is an expert in all things arrowheads. He's the best there is. I've talked to a lot of people. I see a lot of people making products similar to his, we'll just say. And so I decided to talk to him, and we talk about efficiencies of the bows and all that stuff, and I'm familiar with it. I'm an engineer, not a mechanical guy, but my math is strong, and I can follow along for sure. And you get me an expert like Matt, and I can get some really good information because I know when to shut up and listen to him. And I did. So my bow is set at 390 feet per second. That's rated at a 400 grain arrow total weight. That's the arrow, fletchings, insert, and broadhead. They say, use basically a 300 grain arrow shaft and all that with a 100 grain broadhead. Make it 400 grains. It'll shoot that. Okay, that's good. But that's not the most efficient way of the bow, for the bow to shoot the arrow. Heavier is a little better. They're looking for speed numbers through marketing. I'm looking to kill a deer. That's not the same thing. So to maximize the foot-pounds energy and everything delivered to the animal and make sure the cutting force goes through there and then to make sure the broadhead stays intact, I went with, upon recommendation, now this has got the covers on it because I don't want to cut myself on surgical steel. These things are sharp. Sharp. This is not your 10-cent Chinese broadhead. This is a, as I mentioned to Matt, when my opinion of this was holding it next to a Schwacker, it was like holding a tool next to a toy. This broadhead from VIP is a tool to kill a deer. By comparison, a lot of other broadheads are toys. And a friend of mine shot a deer earlier, his first deer, as you saw a picture, with a crossbow. Shot it at about, 10, 15 yards, not very far. And his broadhead completely blew up. And we didn't have a blood trail. Luckily, I know where the deer traveled in that area, and we were able to find it. But we couldn't even track it backwards. And it was a good shot. Close, down through the neck, went through, took the front off the aorta, actually, off the heart, hit the other shoulder, then went down and came out. But all the blood went into the chest cavity. Why? The blades fell off somewhere up here. There wasn't a big hole going through here. The only hole is into the chest cavity, and that's where the blood went, and we couldn't track it. Again, luckily I know the travel routes. We followed where I know where they go and want to get to the water. And we found them laying there 70 yards piled up, but it would have been easier if there would have been a devastating blood trail, which this would have done. Now, this is a 410 grain arrow is actually what this is. And then, let me take that back again. 410 grain arrow would be with a 100 grain tip. And here's where the marketing starts getting hard, even when you know what you're talking about. Somewhat, it's hard to talk about. So the arrow itself weighs like 310 grains with the insert and everything. You put a tip on it, it'd be 410 with 100, but I put 150. I weighed these last night. They come out about 360, or probably 460 total. And this Commander is the Commander X at, like I said, 150 grains, so it's a little heavier, but it also has a cutting width too. So closed. First, you want a broadhead that flies accurately. Now, this is mechanical. Kind of a crossover mechanical, but it is a mechanical, and it has a starting cutting width closed at 1.2 inches, which is itself would be devastating with these blades, as sharp as they are when you take these guides off. Now, when it hits an animal, let's just make sure it flies field point accurate, and they do. I've shot it. It flies really, so with the bow there, you saw some of my video. But anyway, when it hits the animal, that's where this momentum management technology comes in. Now, a lot of them, you see fail to open. You're relying on bands, you're relying on speed, and little tiny wings sticking out the hook open. All those are great, and they're innovative, and they've been around for years, some of them, and it is what it is, but it doesn't mean it's the end all. So in this case, this flies closed up, and it goes to the animal, and it delivers this payload. When it hits the animal, this begins to immediately penetrate. And that's what you need is you need to penetrate the hide, and maybe if you hit a shoulder, a bone, or a rib, you need to penetrate that. At the same time, that compresses the blade a little bit. A little friction from that blade closes a little bit. Now, momentum means that this arrow, when it hits that thing, is going to start slowing down. The arrow is going to slow. It has to slow. That's physics. When it does that, there is a little pin inside here. Now, these are compressed, and now there's a little pin. And the action of slowing, the arrow itself wants to slow, but because that pin is separate inside there, it wants to move forward still. And it will move forward. And when it moves forward, it unlocks the blade. Now you have a devastating 2.4-inch cut on this particular Commander X. Now, this means once it penetrates, so let's go back, penetrates through, let's say it gets through a shoulder blade. It has to go through that bone. It's closed up. Best way to do it, penetration. Now, on the other side of that is soft tissue, lung, heart, in a bad shot, liver, whatever it is. At that point, you're looking to do maximum vascular damage. You want this deer to bleed. So you want to cut as much as you possibly can. So this opens up and starts cutting in those soft tissues. I'll say you want to blow a hole out the other end and you're going to hit that opposite shoulder again. This will compress. Penetration will be there and it'll blow a hole through that shoulder easier. It won't just stop. The blades won't just fly off. Of course, this thing's built like a tank, so it's not going to fall off anyway. But it'll go through, penetrate, open back up the other side. Now you're out the other side of the deer. But now you have a maximized wound channel, maximized cutting, maximized blood flow out of that animal, pouring out into a blood trail and draining that animal of its life force. Sounds gross, cruel, whatever you want to say, but that's what you want to do to a deer when you shoot it. This is the tool that will do that. Now, there's all kinds of other marketing out there and all that stuff, and people, saying there's patent suits and all kinds of crap flying around out there. But this is a devastating head. It's built like a tank. Again, I compare this as a tool, where a lot of other broadheads that I've used are closer to toys. So this is what I'm talking about. The bumper marketing there and how this is better and all this stuff. And it's just not always true. And we're losing out on quality technologies like this. And we'll really put more deer on the ground faster, more humanely, simply because we're following a marketing script more than we're following the physics and the actual application that we want to provide. We can put a sticker on the back of our truck that matches our broadhead rather than we're actually killing the deer with it, kind of thing. So again, listen to your experts. I talked to an expert on arrows and broadheads and crossbows and all things archery and all things ballistic, Matt Futere. And now I have a better setup that I feel more comfortable going out in the woods. And then not only will this, these broadheads too are not talking about toys versus tools. They've killed, I think the record, I want to say, is 17 animals with a single broadhead before they lost it, not before it died, before they lost it. That's a tool. And I think you should get them. And right now, especially at the price they're selling, a 3-pack you go on their website for $25 for a set of these broadheads. Stock up for next year. Get yourself into a better setup, and get yourself into the ballistics that are going to make the difference and learn about it a little bit. Don't just listen to the speed rating and make sure it shoots the fastest. Yeah, fastest is flattest, and that's why they do it. And it's a marketing thing, and I can be the best at this. I can have a 565 feet per second arrow, and that isn't the end all of what you want to do. So it's not necessarily the best comparison you can make. And in the end, what did I trade off to get this? My bow shoots the standard what they want, the total 400 grain arrow at 390 feet per second. This thing, it shoots probably 370 feet per second. Is my scope now, the 400 foot per second scope, calibrated perfectly anymore? Nope. I'm an inch high at 30 yards and low, less distance, and by the time you got to 70 yards, I'm an inch low off the last 70-yard reticle. But I can put that in my head. 40 yards, I'm dead nuts on. Inch low by 70, inch high closer by 30. I put that in my head and shoot that all day long. And even if I'm off an inch at 30 yards, that deer's dead. Especially when you got 2.4 inches of cut. So I lost a little bit of the flatness of shooting, but I have a crossbow that more than makes up for it, and it doesn't do that in any range I'm actually ever going to use it. I never shoot past 30 yards. With this new crossbow, I think I would, under the right circumstances, creep out to 40. But just be reasonable and then get the best tool you can. Listen to the right people, and you'll end up with a lot better setup and a lot more enjoyment, a lot less deer, a lot less frustration, and in the end, a lot less money invested, because this broadhead will last you, say 17 of the other ones. That's a savings for sure. Even if they start out the same price, that's still savings. If it doesn't start off twice as much, it'd still be the same. It doesn't matter. And they're not that much more. And they're actually less right now. Get to the VIParchery.com website and take a look at them. This is the Commander X, 150 grain. They make it in 125. I think they make the regular Commander in 100. They may not be in stock totally right now. I do know there's this 175 version. But they also have other broadheads. If you like 2-blade, they're there. And other different types, and turkey blade. It's all there. It's all there for you to look at. Pick the guys that know what they're doing and listen to them. All right. Thank you, guys. I hope this gives you a quick review of the the VIP Commander X Broadhead. I'll be shooting from my 10-point Venom X in 2025, and we'll take a look at some moon channels on some real deer, maybe. Have a good one.